clean up nicely. It's the Drew and Fuse Show. The Drew and Fuse Show. The Drew and Fuse Show. Yeah, they clean up nicely. Yeah.
Hello.
Yo.
What's up?
What's up, dude? Back for another one. Back one more time. Daft Punks. Thanks for tuning in and listening. We got the original theme song back. If you missed the Even Steve amazing troll theme song, go back and listen to last week's episode. Maybe we have to reintroduce that at some point. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, totally. It was a good little troll edit that he made that we played on last week's episode, which was a music episode. And if you haven't listened to it yet, go listen to it. We discuss Drew and I each pick 5 different songs, and we discuss the reason and situations we'd play those songs. And yeah, I thought it was great. We got a lot of positive feedback. We'll be doing some more of those in the future as well. So
yeah, much more. And we're going to try and hone them in for specific genres and even have some guests on for those. So those are coming up here soon. We're dripping all that new stuff that we recorded. So make sure you're liking and commenting. It just helps the post. Make sure you're doing that.
I didn't wear Billy Mays outfit and act like Billy Mays for nothing. So make sure you're on it, which I feel like it really takes a lot out of me to do that act. I had to really exert a lot of energy because it's really not me to be that energetic. If you don't know me.
Come on, Billy Mays. Fuse Mays.
Billy Mays.
Well, we got an amazing guest on today. I'm so excited to bring him on. He just had this killer panel, basically formed the Content Avengers at DJ Expo, and I'm really excited to talk to him about it. And, he's one of my favorite DJs. I've always looked up to, like, just his curation and his content is just next level. So we're going to bring him on in a little bit. Just shout out all of our sponsors.
Yeah. If you guys are listening and you haven't checked out Direct Music Service yet, you can use the code Drew and Fuse Show, and that will get you 30% off your first month of activation. Once again, using the code Drew and Fuse Show, that'll get you 30% off your first month's activation. What are you waiting for? A lot of the edits that we talk about can be found on that site. It's a great overall site. Lots of exclusive editors on the site, so go check it out. Also, do have that YOLO line. Nobody's been hitting the YOLO line recently. We're getting a lot of listeners, and we're not getting any voicemails on our YOLO line, and we're kind of sad about it. And if you want to give it a call, it's 562-246-YOLO is the phone number. Leave us a drunk dial, whatever you feel like doing. If it's great, we're going to play it. So
you can order a Daft Swatter straight through the YOLO line, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the Daft Swatter. Yeah. That, we might just have to put them into production. I'll have to
take all the Bad Bunny requests right out. Yeah, I think we need to.
Do you have a swatter guy? I don't know if I have a swatter guy.
Man, I think I had 20 requests for Bad Bunny this past weekend. It was so bad. I couldn't even believe it. I know everyone talks about it, but it just
while I was playing Bad Bunny.
I know everyone talks about it, but geez, it just, like, how is this possible? Then we also have Club Cannon. If you're not using a Club Cannon, make sure you're using a Club Cannon. Check out my last reel. It shows Club Cannons in action at a wedding and what they could do for your weddings and the enhancement that it could do for your bride and groom just to set the party on another level. And also we have the Photo Booth Supply Company. Make sure you use the Drew and Fuse Show link if you're going to buy a salsa booth. Lastly, we are not sponsored by our fans over at Liquid Death.
Not sponsored.
Not
sponsored by Liquid Death. There may or may not be a Billy Mays promo for Liquid Death coming out here soon. Don't hold me on that. Don't hold me on that. Speaking of the Bad Bunny, real quick, I have to tell you about this interesting request I had before we bring our guest on. And it was I was playing Friday. I was playing lots of Spanish music, probably more than I normally do. And I had this girl come up to me, she was like, "You're not doing Spanish music any justice because you haven't played any Mexican artists." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I'm sorry." I was like, "I played a lot of Spanish tonight. I've played a lot more than I even normally do. I'm not familiar on really who's from where." And she starts rattling off, "Well, Bad Bunny's from here, and this person's from there, and this person's there, and you just haven't played any Mexican artists." And I'm like, "Okay, well, who's the Mexican artist you would like to hear?" And she says Mark Anthony. And you
He's
don't
got a
know.
clothing line at Kohl's, by the way. If you're
Again.
wait,
So
you cut out. Say it one more time.
he's Puerto Rican. He's not even Mexican. So, you know, I if you feel the need to come up to the DJ to like be woke and tell me that I'm not hitting all genres of music, at least know what the fuck you're talking about, like slightly, please. All right, that's it.
You
That's my
expect
rant.
too much. You expect too
I
much.
expect too much. Maybe.
He's
All right.
he has a Kohl's line. You could buy
Does he?
his snug fit. Yeah. You could buy his snug fit V-necks.
Dude, my favorite. Here's the thing. She doesn't know this, but I secretly love Mark Anthony too. And if she wasn't just a see you next Tuesday, I would have played the shit out of some Mark Anthony. Uh,
How do I
uh,
not know
uh,
that? What's your go-to? What are you playing on Mark Anthony?
my friend Richie here in Cincinnati used to own a bar across the street from the bar I used to play at, and they had a Touch Tones. And it was a taco bar, so I would always log into the Touch Tunes while I was DJing across the street and play Mark Anthony. "You Sang to Me" was the song that I would always play on the Touch Tones, but I would play it like 5 or 6 times throughout the night. And now one of the girls that works at the bar I play on Friday nights, her name's Alicia. She used to bartend over there, and she was like, "Oh my God, that was you that would do that." So, but I love some Mark Anthony. I can't think of other names off the top of my head, but "You Sang to Me" is like the one from the late 90s, early 2000s, where he's like got this like hot, tall, skinny model in the music video, and he's got a turtleneck on that goes up to his eyeballs. Like the turtleneck is so turtly. So,
Oh, you need to bring that
all
back,
right,
dude.
dude.
Turtleneck and one gold chain.
If you haven't, yes, you have to go watch that video. It's like the most 90s thing ever.
All right, I'm
So,
in.
all right. So back to it. Today's guest is great. He's been resident DJ at some clubs in the top 100 nightclubs in America, or I can't remember if that is that in America or if it's world. We'll have to ask him. One being Malibus and Oz in Myrtle Beach. He is only one of 25 official rain DJs in the world, as well as sponsored by Crane Hardware, Infinity Faders, Glowtronics, AGI Pro DJ, who we love, Mix Emergency, Cooler Caps, and Jetpack, who we love, and Jamtex. He has a YouTube channel with 1 million views. He's DJ'd alongside artists such as Snoop Dogg, Ludacris, Dougie Fresh, Waka Flocka, Travis Porter, Biz Markie, Petey Pablo, CNC Music Factory, and Fat Man Scoop. Please help us welcome DJ EYECON.
Ba 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 ba! Reggae horns, reggae horns, reggae horns.
There you go.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello. Thanks for being on the show with us.
Hey, thank you for the intro, Mr. Buffer. I appreciate that.
No, I'll do the Billy Mays intro next for the next time.
Yo, the
No,
Petey
it was
Pablo
awesome,
show
man.
was lit. Thinking about it, like
Was it?
of all of all the artists along the way, that one, because it was like in North Carolina, right? So I
Oh,
guess just the fact.
Totally.
And then he left that show and went to the airport, and that was the time that he tried to go through security with like the pistol in his back, and he got arrested.
Oh my God.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I haven't
No.
played the Raise Up in a long time. I need to see if I can play that if it works for me still.
it
Will you
slaps
play
on
it?
this side of the world. I mean, obviously,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely good here for I think a lot of our clients, either club stuff or private event space, are largely into the culture around here. You bust out that track, man, and it's just place goes bananas.
I did a wedding in Savannah, and they were from North Carolina or went to school there or whatever. But yeah, I played that, and the whole place just lost it. It was amazing.
Yeah. it's still very like quick hit for me, like I'm not
Yeah.
running it
Play the
forever,
hook.
but it's just a very
No.
yeah, it's just a very, very quick, maybe right crowd, maybe first verse and hook and then out. But I couldn't say the last time I played I couldn't tell the last time I played the full song of anything, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
See,
The
DJs,
only
take note. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're telling you you gotta mix, right? And that's why we got this guy on, is because he's doing weddings, and he's mixing and he's elevating the genre, or just everybody with what we need to be doing. So we're gonna be talking content curation and just elevating basically weddings, bringing the nightlife to weddings.
Facts. That's really
Yep.
been what it's about, man. Ever since the whole COVID thing happened, and I think the DJ culture as a whole, a lot of people, kind of pivoted from one way or the other. Where it's interesting, where you see like wedding guys are trying to go club now, or a lot of club guys are going wedding now. I kind of had my foot in both spots at the time when the whole COVID thing happened. I'd seen the writing on the wall for me personally in the club world for kind of years, to be honest with you, Drew, and it was probably right around the first time that I ever met you, when like Josh and I were doing our like dueling kind of like video DJ thing, traveling around, and we played at this place called
Heat.
Pasha that used to be in New York City.
Okay.
And that place specifically, if I remember correctly, there was like 3 rooms there. There was like a basement, the mid-level room, and the mid-level room was kind of like the headline room or whatever. And then you had like a third floor as well. And we were slated to be on the like on the second floor as like the main headliner. And the manager dude came up to us probably like 15 minutes before our set. And he said, "Hey man, we got this kid who's like a homie of the owner or whatever. This kid he'd actually paid the club like $700 to DJ and sold tickets to his homies and brought like 60 people with him. So they ended up bumping us from like the mid room to the basement, which was actually pretty lit, to be honest with you. It was kind of more our vibe. And I'll never forget, this kid showed up with like a brand new like DDJ SX that he had picked up from Best Buy, like in the plastic, and showed up
In the box.
and pulled.
He had the box?
Yeah. Yep, with the box, and pulled like Best Buy receipt, the whole thing, and pulled it out. And then it was either Josh or I like helped him like get the Serato drivers, like the whole thing. I don't know. I feel like you used to be able to facts, but I feel like it's like a mid-tier guy, which I think is what I would like describe myself in the club world. Like I'm not somebody that nobody's like buying tickets to come see me play. I don't have a name like that. So I would consider myself to be kind of like a mid-tier dude or whatever. It just seemed like you used to be able to travel around a lot and make really, really, really good money. And then it kind of just got super saturated with kids like that. And then it just stopped, I guess, where like the opportunities just weren't there like they used to be.
And I agree with you, but I feel like a lot of those guys went the wayside during COVID.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Some of them just kind of went a different route. I feel like it might be coming back, but I don't feel like, at least here in California, there's not as many DJs like at all. We need more guys out here for sure.
Yeah. I would say for this region, I didn't mean to cut you off, Fuse. I'm sorry. I think for this region, the nightclub thing isn't really like at least here in Myrtle Beach, isn't a huge thing anymore. Those 2 spots that you plugged when I came on, they just don't exist anymore. They got shut down just from a entire, just not being able to pay rent perspective. And then the 2 guys that own that complex, actually, they don't even allow DJs there anymore at all. So like Myrtle Beach, which seems weird, they'll allow bands, like they'll let bands come and play all day, no problems at all. But as far as having the DJ that keeps the party going till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, that both those places were 3 a.m. It just doesn't exist anymore. Like they're just trying to shift Myrtle Beach as a whole to much more like a very family friendly, almost like a little mini Florida, I guess. They're building like crazy around here. I mean, if you look up cities in the nation as far as the highest production of construction of new homes or apartments or townhomes, whatever, Myrtle Beach is the past couple of years has been in top 5. But there's not like any other jobs here. It's not like there's a bunch of tech companies come for young people. And so young people can move here and kind of set stuff up. It's very like, we want the more retired community, I guess, to come in and kind of do that. So that was also part of it for me, where seeing all of that stuff and paying attention to that stuff, I'm like, my exit from at least the Myrtle Beach nightclub scene needs to kind of keep moving in that direction. And I was already going that way pre-COVID anyway, but the whole COVID thing happening and those two places shutting down was really like kind of nail in the coffin for me, I guess.
So was it like big time spring break, summer was like the season, and then it would die out winter, or like what was like the season that was just pushing hardcore at Myrtle Beach?
Yeah, so the club world here, Myrtle Beach has always been like a really, really cheap destination spring break spot. The party vibes here were crazy. And it was a situation like basically from the last week of from the last week of February until the last week of March, there was always different schools that were coming here every week.
Right.
In Malibu specifically, that place was kind of like the spot as far as nightclubs go here. It was kind of the place. And I would kind of classify it more as like it wasn't, like a big room, Atlantic City, Vegas type vibe. It was more like it was honestly a shit party bar, to be completely honest with you. The place,
but 700 people.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't ran down. It wasn't super nice. It just kind of had this like sleeper vibe about it, man, where I feel like there just wasn't a whole lot of like pressure there to be like the cool kid if you showed up, because it wasn't, I mean, bottle service didn't exist there. It wasn't a thing at all. It just didn't happen.
Right.
It was much more of just like a all out party type thing. And so I'm talking about like Sunday to Sunday, you were putting anywhere between, and when I say 700 to 800, it could hold 700 to 800 at one time. So you would put like 1,000, anywhere from like 1,000 to like 3,000 people through this room every single night of the week. The crazy thing for me on the content side was, at the time, like either me capturing footage or some of my homies capturing the footage, but more or less me editing it. 2014 for me was kind of I'll say 2015. 2015 was kind of like the year where shit was just crazy. I remember specifically there was a point in 2015 where like the big thing with the club was there was this giant like shark head, and I mean like floor to ceiling, 35 foot tall, like shark mouth basically, and that's where the DJ was. So there was this huge, like
So
wooden
random,
booth or wooden booth or whatever, and it was crazy. You're inside of this big ass shark's mouth, and in front,
we need some pictures of that for when we post this episode. We need some pictures of the shark mouth.
Yeah, I can get you one. For sure. But they just like there was no separation between me and I was elevated maybe like 4 feet, but there was this like plexiglass, just barrier in front of me. And I'll never forget, I was in some like 70 BPM big room trap set or whatever, and this kid like he just grabbed the plexiglass and literally like snapped it off the booth. And there was this moment where I was standing at him like that didn't just happen, and he held it up and like everybody cheered, and then they like tossed it around the club. It was the craziest shit. But the point that I'm trying to, he was like, yeah, like the point that I was trying to make is me looking at the footage as far as generationally, as far as kids coming out and just letting go and getting super drunk and just having a great time. That year was kind of like the peak. And then it just slowly declined from there generationally. And I think that when you look at like age ranges that are coming out to nightclubs, and this is just my experience, these kids, like kids that are say like 21 now, why the hell would they know about going out to a nightclub and raging like that? Why would they know about that? At least from what we're seeing around here, it just started declining. And if you look at like, when I work in nightclubs now, I don't even really see people getting drunk like that anymore. I don't partake, but whatever they are using to feel good is very, very different now than what it was back then. I don't know, just the whole culture kind of, the whole culture just seemed like it kind of shifted, at least as far as this goes, and it just wasn't as fun for me as a whole to go out and play. I
don't think anyone wants to be in that many with around that many people. I know Fuse does this massive bar, but it's all ages, right? And that's the big draw, Fuse.
Well, I would say there's just some generation, like there's some gaps. There's some things that people are missing. And, we do, to answer Drew's question, the club that I do, we had over 800 people in there on Saturday at one time. It's weird. The music is weird in terms of there's a couple things I want to try to hit. The music is weird because there isn't just this one centralized location of just radio anymore where a song becomes a hit. And
Big
so
time,
I feel like
for sure.
if for a song that's a universal hit to land at a club like that has 800 people in it, it really has to be a big song. And even some of the big like dance songs don't hit for me that, you might play at like the cool bottle service place. Usually those people are more in tune to like cool music. But the other thing that I noticed like at the bar that I play on Friday nights, pre-COVID 2019, when that opened up, we were moving tables out and just like the whole place would be one giant dance floor and people would dance around.
Facts.
Now, now we people if we move the tables, a lot of times people don't know what to do. They're like, especially the young kids, they want to come in, they want to sit at the table and they want to like dance the table like while sitting in
Yeah.
their seats with their drink on. It's so fucking weird, but that's what the COVID shit taught these kids that's what to do. So that's what they do when they come in the bar now. They sit there, they sit at the table with their friends. If they don't like a song, it's great because then they just sit there. And if they do, then they dance around in their chair.
Yeah.
So it's weird. And if you go out to Vegas, you notice kind of like what you were saying, a lot of the people that are going out to the clubs aren't the young 21-year-olds, and they still might be. But if they are, they're like, woo, we're in Vegas. I'm going to let loose
facts.
here. They don't go out in Cincinnati with that same attitude. In fact, when they go out here, they're like, fuck this guy who's DJing. Impress me. Like, you ain't shit. Like, that's the attitude they come in the bar with, So it's like, it's completely different. It's hard to juggle that. So
I think we could probably talk about that cultural shift for hours because it's not like Fuse. I don't know how old you are, but it's not like Drew and I are like the youngest cats in the game anymore. So like we've been DJing in nightclubs for a while. I'm sure you're the same way, and so it's been very interesting to kind of see kind of like I sound like that. Well, but back in my day, I kind of sound like the old dude, but like
my favorite
but-
term.
Yeah, but like, from there to here, there's been a lot of shifts in there. And for me, at least for what I really enjoy DJing, it didn't seem like it was for the better, but it's that, that's just me,
no, yeah, there's been a lot of shifts, and it'll be interesting to see in another 3 to 5 years what it'll really kind of look like,
Mhm.
for clubs. I play at, there's only, I would consider like 2 real clubs in the city that are more open format, and the rest are just more party bars. Everywhere else is more party bar that has DJs, so I don't know, what that look, and even our club's more party bar. We don't really push the bottle service at all. We have a couple spaces if people do want to come in and do that, but that's not really what we do there. It's more of a dance club. They file in, they dance. If you play a song they don't like, they all stare at you.
The very interesting thing about this place here is there's just not really a whole lot of like nightclubs anymore. They just really don't exist here. There's a decent amount of like kind of bars you can go to that'll throw a DJ in there, but it's like Gary's Sports Bar or whatever, so it's just not like it's just not that type of atmosphere. But there's not really anywhere here, or there's not enough places here for people to kind of like find their tribe and go there. So for instance, like if you're somebody that loves new hip hop and that's all you want to listen to, you're not finding that around here. Like there's nowhere where you're going to hear just that. Or if you like Latin, or if you like 70s and 80s stuff or whatever, there's just not places here for that anymore. About the only place that I play here now is a big ass room, but it's kind of like it's like 3 almost clubs in one, essentially, where there's like a country bar. There's like the middle section is more like a live band type thing, and then there's the nightclub. But you can imagine, just from what I just said, the different walks of life and age ranges that come into this place.
Yeah.
And so you're standing there as the DJ where, at 9:30, there's, the 60-year-olds that just came and listened to like the Led Zepp cover band are in there, and they want you to play shit for
Right.
them. But then
Right.
you'll get younger people that'll show up at 10:30, 11 o'clock, and they want, whatever new hip hop is on the radio. And so it's just this very interesting thing to try to like navigate. And I feel like Fuse, what you said earlier, as far as people, how they actually find music and are listening to their music. Everything is like right now. If you want to listen to a new track, you're just on Spotify, bam, I don't want to hear this anymore. And so culturally, I just don't really feel like, at least here, there's a lot of people that are coming out to listen to like whatever the DJ is going to do. You know, like you just come in and listen to this guy because he's playing Mixture all over the stuff and he's fun or whatever. Nah, it's like the Bad Bunny shit. It's like, play Bad Bunny now. I don't care what you listen to. Just play that now, period. That's it.
Just put on the whole album, go take a shit, and then walk away.
Basically.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
We just hit start and just let the whole thing run.
I actually have a theory about that music-wise, and I'm curious what you guys think about that. I have never, ever, ever had somebody come up to me, whether if it's a private event, nightclub, or whatever, and if they want to hear something Bad Bunny, they say Bad Bunny. They don't say a specific song. Now, if I ask them for a specific song, most of the time they can say, oh, we'll play this. But it's never that. It's always play Bad Bunny. Likewise, when I have people that ask for new hip hop stuff, they'll come up and be like, man, can you play just like something new, you know, like just new. I'm like, I don't know, you know, new to me is probably not new to you. So like, what do you mean? You know, just something like, you know, just something like new hip hop or whatever. As to where for me, if I'm coming up to you, I'm like, can you play Hypnotized by Biggie? Like that's what I want to hear. I almost feel like the music is so, it's more so about like the vibe now of how the track makes somebody feel, as opposed to actually giving a shit about the specific song or whatever it's saying or the message or whatever. And it seems more like disposable to me in a way, I guess. Maybe that's a bad word, but it just seems like it's more about the vibe for me now as opposed to the song.
Well, we had a chick specifically come up to me recently and they were like, hey, can you play Bad Bunny? And I was like, definitely. Can you name a song? She goes, no. I said, well, I'm not going to play anything for you then. She goes, I don't really want Bad Bunny. I just want you to play Latin shit. And that was what she's just now, Bad Bunny is now like the Latin artist, right? So it's like, hey, play Latin shit. I know Bad Bunny. That's what it is.
So this is my take a little on it too, because I kind of agree with what you're saying, but I'll kind of even go a little one deeper, and I think I've said it on here before. Or is it even the vibe they want, or is it the hype machine of the internet showing people this is what's cool and this is what you should be listening to? Or maybe it's both. You know, I think a lot of it is both too, because there are so many songs that you play, like I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, like a Lil Baby song. Like people get hype for like the initial like hit of it, and then they don't care anymore because they don't actually fucking listen to the song. Like they just know that that's the artist I should be like, or I should like, or he's cool right now,
or the 8 seconds they heard on TikTok of that one track.
Yeah.
But my biggest pet peeve about the TikTok is that one song, do you jiggle, wiggle, wiggle, right? It's so short. They get so many requests for it. That's what they like. I mean, just that. I don't know. Maybe we need to put that on a bootleg, Fuse. That might be the
Saber did one, I think. That's on DMS. Yeah, he did.
All right.
I played it one night at the bar, and people looked at me like I had 8 fucking heads. So we're gonna start with some rapid fires. We're gonna run this perfectly produced Drew Pierce $1 million segment here, and then we'll ask you some questions. So here we go.
All right, sounds good.
This is Arnold here, the movie star of Twins and Kindergarten Cop. Drew and Fuse are going to ask you a series of questions, and I want you to answer them immediately. Don't bullshit them. Answer the questions. Hurry! I'm after the chopper. It's now time for rapid fire.
All right.
Yo, that dude crushed that voiceover. For real.
He crushed that voiceover so well.
Crushed it.
I'm not going to give away my secrets, but yes, definitely he crushed that one, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I mean, it's just the governor. It just is him. It's him. He's there.
Totally. 100%.
AKA Arnold crushed his own voice, is what we want to say.
Yeah. He did that as a personal favor to us.
Yeah.
All right. Rapid fire. Let's hit them. Boom.
All right. So first question we like to ask, and we like to try to keep these pretty quick, is something that you're currently listening to, whether it's podcast or music on your own time, just something that you like to listen to.
Yep. Man, so for me, I don't know if you guys are the same way, but I don't really too much listen to music in my free time. I will designate time to make sure that I'm staying current with whatever the hell's going on, or especially if I'm doing edits of something, you know, I'm obviously listening to music, but I'm a podcast dude 100%. Like I feel like you get to a point where we're all professional in the sense of like this is all we do. I don't really want to beat music in my brain 100% of the time. I need other things to focus on. That is not that. In downtime to take our minds off, like some of me and the homies, like play COD on PC or Xbox or whatever. There's a couple of dudes on YouTube that I'll watch that just have like stupid funny videos where I can just watch and kind of disconnect from music and laugh at that shit. I'm also super dorky nerdy in the sense of I've got like a reef aquarium in my house with like a bunch of like tropical fish and like corals and a bunch of shit. I might have just made myself not as cool, but like there's a couple of dudes.
Wait.
Yeah.
Are you playing music for them? Is there like a soundtrack they got going on?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, we are not. Those guys and I, we are not the same people, man. We're not. But as far as what we're doing, I guess we have like a common hobby or whatever. There's a couple of those podcasts or like YouTube episodes I'll listen to, but on a regular, man, like when I'm riding in the car, I'm generally not listening to anything music wise unless I'm doing the classic. I just made an edit and I'm testing it in the car to see what it sounds like. You know, like that's basically it.
Totally makes sense. I had somebody, I was hanging out with a buddy last night and his wife was like, Drew, do you listen to Kid Cudi? And I said, I've never been a Kid Cudi fan. I like his hits, but he's so monotone. You know, it just does, it doesn't hit me correct. Every song sounds the same. I do try and listen to stuff I do like. Like I like stuff that's punk rock or reggae. You know, it's way off kilter from anything I would play.
I was on like a weird Dave Matthews Band kick for like a month or two, just because I kind of like the jam band thing that they do from time to time, and their drummer is like an alien. He's on a completely different level, and so I was kind of listening to, I guess, just kind of listen to him. But even still, like I'm not. The gigs that I'm going out and dropping like ants marching or something are very few and far between. So to me, it was still like disconnected from, just like
the modern day Grateful Dead, right? That's kind of where he's landed, right?
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple videos of him lately. He's like zonked out of his mind up there too.
Dude, I know. Well, I mean, you think about how long those guys have been playing. How many shows have they possibly done? Do they even know anymore? Probably not. Probably not. I wouldn't think so.
Well, that's why I'm saying the Grateful Dead. He just he's taking acid on the stage and he's just tripping balls, dude, and that's what it is. That's why he's dancing so much. He's just got the moving feet because he's got dancing legs, dude. Can't help it.
I'm not a big Dave Matthews Band fan at all, but I will say some of the movies that he's been in where he's had like little cameos, that guy is fucking
really
hilarious.
Right.
Yeah.
He was like the random boyfriend or whatever. It just walks up. It's like, what the hell is Dave Matthews doing in this movie, bro? Like, I don't know.
What movie was that?
He was in the one with Adam Sandler and
that's the one I'm thinking of.
Chuck and Larry.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
He's in that one. He's in a couple others. I can't think of off the top of my head, but he's definitely in a few others. So
yeah.
Do you have a favorite remixer or producer? And that doesn't have to be for like DJ edits, just like in music in general. Is there somebody that you like?
Yeah, 100%. The dude who is my guy for that, his name is Reflex. Do you guys know who he is?
I do.
Like DJ Reflex.
Now, is it the Reflex that used to be on Power 106?
No, at least not to my knowledge. But yeah, what he calls his tracks are like Reflex revisions is what he calls it.
Yep.
This dude is not somebody, like, he's not on any of what I would call like the stance. So like he's not on DMS, it's not BPM, it's none of that. This dude is making music that he likes to make. He's not making it to like be on every DJ's turntables on Saturday night or whatever. So he'll take something like, I don't know, Cool in the Gang, like Celebration or whatever, and he will take that track and literally make it into like a 7 or 8 minute song, but completely redone, where this dude, he either has all of the stems of all of this shit, or he is hiring people to play this stuff, or he's doing it himself. For me, from a editor's standpoint, it is just the most creative shit I've ever heard in my life. And so for me, getting back to the fact of, I don't always love listening to the same stuff that we're playing every week. This is recognizable stuff that I really enjoy. And I'll just like, he has a crazy edit of like, September is really good. He's got some good Michael Jackson stuff, like Groove is in the Heart. He has some very, 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 very good stuff. that I'm just listening to it like this shit is wild. I'll link you some of his stuff, man. But it's
No, I
really
bought his pack a while ago. I actually played the Gautier one the other night.
Yeah. The interesting thing for me, a lot of it is you'd have to be in a very particular scenario to go out and like play his edits in their entirety. But I just did like an epic intro of Celebration to play at weddings, cut it down a lot, and I used a lot of his own edit and then found the studio acapella and kind of like fused them, I guess pun intended, into a really, really nice like epic intro edit. He's kind of the dude who is, yeah, I'll send it to you. And that's another thing for me. I don't really put my edits out anywhere. I don't know why. I've just never really like kind of gone for that, I guess. But my own folder is like stacked of shit that I've made that I can go play. Yeah.
Well, we've both. I don't put out every edit that I do, and I still make thousands of edits hourly. You know, almost everything I play is like a custom edit. So
yeah,
no,
of course.
I'm just more saying I need that specific one, but
yeah.
I do really like all his stuff that he's ever put out.
Right,
he is killing it. Reflex, very. That's a great pick. We haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah, if you would have asked me this question back like pre-COVID, as far as like a DJ record pool editor, I probably would have had a different answer for you, because that room Oz I was playing at was very, very, very big room. It was like if you can go in there and play, at least during peak hour, if you can get away with playing all big room Vegas, Atlantic City stuff, that's what they want you to do. And so I was taking a ton of stuff from either like HMC or some Club Killer stuff, and just really chopping it up and making my own versions that were just very applicable to that room, I guess. That shit, I've got, I mean, probably over 100 of like quick hit big room trap stuff that was flames back then. But since my, I guess, focus has shifted a lot more to the private event space now, man, I hate to give you like the obligatory like Scooter answer, you know, but like he's Ryan's the homie, and that I think I'm giving you the Scooter answer specifically because of his Super Bowl edits. I love those.
Oh, they're so good.
This is one thing with him. I mainly love it because when we're going out to our private events, there's like a main DJ and then there's an assistant light tech. And so I have somebody specifically on like a Pioneer, like XP2 or whatever, who is running these lights real time. And we can do some really, really creative stuff production wise with tracks like that have extra hits or horns or other things, where it kind of lets us like immerse the crowd into the like our production specifically, instead of just a song playing. When there's some more sauce in the song, I guess it makes it more fun for us, I guess.
Well, the VMAs just happened, and I heard all of the remixes, like the Lizzo track redone, all these tracks redone. I thought, okay, I'm waiting for Scooter to redo all those.
Yeah, and he will.
Yeah. There's a lot of them on there. It was a good VMAs, actually. There's a lot of cool new tracks, and I'm excited. You know, I feel like we're bubbling again, at least with music.
Yeah, I agree. I think so.
What is the best non-curse word, one word insult? We ask this question to everybody. Everybody has a different answer. We keep saying we're going to make a t-shirt, but we don't have the merch store live. What do you got to say about that, Drew?
Yeah, exactly. It's my fault. I'm the asshole.
I think that's easy for me. I think it's jerk. I think calling somebody.
You're a jerk.
I think calling somebody a jerk is it's kind of like an old head thing. Like, what did you just? It's kind of like if you were on the playground and like push somebody down, like you're not hurting them, but it's just like, what did you just do? You called me a jerk. Like, all right.
Makes me think of Seinfeld, where they're like, the jerk store called, and they're all at you.
Right. You're just a jerk.
We have not heard that, and I love it. It's so good.
Boom. Nice.
Yeah, that's a new one. I like it.
All right. The next question is, if we were to come visit you, where would you take us to eat in your area that we can't get anywhere else?
Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, Myrtle Beach.
Where we at? We got some street dogs. We got some sushi.
You're gonna have to pry me away if there's street dogs.
I would take you. I would take you nowhere in Myrtle Beach for you to eat. Okay. Okay, time out. I say that like in Myrtle Beach, there's something ridiculous like 1,400 restaurants or something like that. There are some really good places to eat here, but the move, which is probably like with most cities, well, Myrtle Beach isn't much of a city, but area, I guess. Like 20 minutes outside of Myrtle Beach are kind of the spots that you want to go. If you go north, it's kind of more like Calabash seafood is what they call it. The seafood's a move up there, but then south there's a spot called Murrells Inlet. Murrells Inlet is the absolute move food wise. Really, anything that you would want is there, but their seafood in the area kind of shines. There are some really good being in the South, there's some really good barbecue places here, but I would take you to Murrells Inlet, specifically the Marsh Walk is what it's called. It's literally that. It's kind of like this marshy area. They have this place out there called Goat Island, which is exactly what you think it would be. There's literally an island with fucking goats on it. I don't know why that exists, but it's there. You're like walking, you look
I need
over,
to
and there's
go
like
there.
60 goats on this. Yeah, it's the strangest thing.
That's a new peak for my list of places.
I want a
need to go.
T-shirt
Goat
that says
Yeah, you
"I
need
went
to
to
say that.
Goat Island" with a face of a goat on it.
Yay. But there's like this I got not like a boardwalk, but it's kind of like a dock, I guess, that you walk on. There's a bunch of restaurants in and out of there, and it's one of those things where like it doesn't matter which one you go to, all the food is amazing. It just depends on if you want more of like a restaurant vibe or a bar vibe, I guess. But anything in and around that area is just wild. The food is so good.
Dude, you should coin yourself the Goat Island Goat.
I could get it. I could get it on a T-shirt or a hat. I just wouldn't ask Drew to get the store up, I guess.
It will never happen.
You could,
No.
yeah, it'll be a year out and it still won't be up.
Yeah. Right.
Orders or T-shirt store coming 2025. Everybody,
Save your
I need to
pennies.
just pay somebody to do it at this point. I mean, listen, I can do it. It's just that we record so much. It's like the week happens in a flash. You start Monday
Yeah,
is the
fact.
Lord's Day. Tuesday
It's the
we're
Lord's
doing
Day.
podcasts. The Lord's Day meaning that's the day that we take for ourselves. The Lord. We're
Yeah,
I'm the
day of
Lord.
rest.
of course.
Monday's the Lord's Day. You got to take one day for yourself, and I need that fucking day. I got to be honest. Like we wanted to do something yesterday, and I just said, bro, I
couldn't do it.
need to shut down. I can't do it.
Which is really tough, man, because typically Monday is when the rest of the world is getting back to work. And so I always have this point on Monday where I wake up, bright and early at 1 p.m. Just have this thought.
My man right there.
Yeah. And just have this thought of like, what is going to be on my phone? Like, I know there's going to be, and generally for us, we're events wise, we've got to the point to where, we're working generally like Thursday to Sunday. And so depending on the workload of those specific days, and I'm like the sales and email guy at the company. I'm still doing all that stuff. So maybe I got to emails, maybe I didn't. Maybe I was able to return texts, maybe I wasn't. It just depends on how, like how many guys we have out on the specific day and what the workload is like on that day. So a lot of times Monday is catch-up day, but it gets really tough when we're in like peak wedding season here. I'm returning emails on Monday that were from like Thursday, so it's hard. It's finding that like work-life balance is a necessity for everything, I feel like.
It's tough. Yeah, it is tough. If you were in a room full of DJs and you had to brag about one thing that's happened in your career, a moment in the DJ booth, crazy celebrity story, what would the
moment of the shark's
in
mouth.
the shark's mouth. Yeah. What would it be?
I don't really too much like I don't like to talk about myself in the terms of like bragging, I guess, if that makes sense. I think the most interesting experience that I had was when I was in 3-Style, I guess. That was a lot of fun for me creatively. I'm still super bent about the outcome of my particular situation that we can talk about off stream. But going into it and my actual experience before the outcome was a lot of fun. And I felt like it was, or I feel like it was always cool when I feel like it's hard to get into that, especially in the US. Like the talent in the US of like turntablist creative dudes is wild. There's a lot, there's talent all over the world, but I feel like if you look at other countries, there is not as much talent as far as just sheer number of guys that are just sick when it comes to being a DJ as what there is here. So I always felt like kind of repping the US and making it into kind of that pool of guys was a lot of fun. Creatively, it was amazing for me.
I want to ask a very specific question. Maybe we could go a little bit out of it, is how did you prep for that set coming up, right? Because that is in itself is very hard. You're coming up with 15-second little routines here and there. It's like, oh, I like this part. Let me pull this. Let me pull this, and then you have to build multiple sets for it too. So, what was your brain process going into that? I think that would be very interesting to hear.
Sure. So the year that I competed was 2015, and that was at least to my knowledge, that was the last year that they had the competition in the US was very different than the rest of the world. The rest of the world would just have like a national final. And so if those guys got invited, they got invited. In the US that year they had a regional thing. And so I want to say there was maybe like 20 to 22 like regions or something. And each one of those regions had their own competition. And then those guys were going to essentially like a mirrored version of the world final, to where you would go to the US and then there were brackets on those nights, and the winner from this night would go to the final, and then the winner from this night would go to the final.
Right.
I didn't even make it out of the regional. I placed second in the regional. But for me, I knew that there's no time to like choke on the main stage. And so for me, my thought process was, this needs to be 15 minutes. And I'm very much a perfectionist when it comes to this shit. So it was going to be 15 minutes exactly. It was not going to be 14:59. It was not going to be 15:01. It was going to be 15. And so my DAW of choice is Ableton. I went into, like, I would be at the club or whatever, and I still to this day have a note section on my phone of just a bunch of ideas and stuff of what I wanted to do, or tone plays or whatever, which even for me, I felt like was more difficult back then, because this was before Serato DJ was a thing. So like I was going into 3-style with like dicers and 5 cue points. So there wasn't as much much room to be super, super creative, with jumping up semitones or whatever in the software. That just didn't exist then. So I went into Ableton with all my ideas, and I produced the entire 15 minutes and got it to where it was super solid. I was very happy with it. And then it was a matter of reverse engineering that process to figure out how to make that 15 minutes DJable. So how do I take this 15-minute mix and break all of this up into however many tracks? And I think I ended up with like 26 or 27 tracks or something like that. And it was very much so a process where, like, I have to nail this. And if I don't nail this, if I miss one thing, the whole shit is fucked. It's just done. If I miss this cue point, if I miss that or whatever, when I tell you that I played through that initial set over 100 times, I mean that. I mean, I could have played it in my sleep. I kind of basically did.
I imagine.
There was no looking at the clock. There was no, wonder what was going on. I was super nervous. I just tried to lock into it. I had this one little tiny slip up where, like, instead of, I was on turntables I didn't know, and I forgot to like adjust the weights all the way up to the tone arm. I'm super heavy handed. And I went to drop this one track, needle hopped a little bit, and I bumped it back on. It was very, very very, very small, but that's what it was for me, man. And coming out of it, it was just very cool creatively to be a part of that.
How long did you prep for this? 6 months? It was like a long prep period.
So you would basically, you submitted like a Red Bull was trying to make the optics of this a massive thing, because like for me, the competition is about selling Red Bull cans. Period. I think that's what it's about. They were doing that by way of the DJs, but at the end of the day, it was about selling Red Bull cans. And so they wanted to make this event super, super, super hype. So everything was shown, everything was online. And so to even like be considered, you had to make like an online routine or whatever that was like 5 minutes. So I made that one first. That was one that I made, went through, same thing, made the 5-minute set, figured out how to make it DJable. And even still, to me, like it's changing around so much. If you watch that routine, like, or if you watch a lot of the guys' routine, nobody's messing with like pitch faders at all. Or if you look at like the dudes who are really, really, they've been, or veterans have been doing it for a while, there's not a whole lot of room. Or no. Well, so I mean, yes, but in Ableton, so it's not like pitched. Yeah. So everything is all pre-pitched in Ableton. At least for me, it was. It's not like I wasn't trying to go on that stage and be like, okay, let me throw my headphones on to like make sure that this is, and let me mess with the pitch or whatever. Everything is moving so fast. That was also at the time where like the sync button was kind of becoming a thing, or like it was in like beta for, you know, Serato, or like track. A lot of the big festival guys, like Craze or something, were still using Tractor. And I remember he came out at one point and he basically like told all the DJs that were hating on whatever sync wise to kick rocks. It was like, look, these people want to hear what I'm going to do. They don't give a shit if I'm up here mixing records together. It doesn't make a difference. I'm going to go up and hit sync, and I'm going to make the crowd move, and that's what it's going to be. And that was kind of my thought process of pre-pitching everything, I guess. And so I made the online thing and then got selected. And I think from the point that they called and said, you're going to be in the regional, I want to say it was like 30 or 35 days, something like that. And at the time I was working in a nightclub like 5 days a week. And so from like Tuesday to Saturday I was working. So like I would wake up bright and early at 1 p.m. like I just said, and I would work on all of these edits and put stuff together. And then I would go to the club and take an extra laptop with me, throw on a mix, work on whatever until people got there, DJ, go home, and then just kind of work on it again. I was just so caught up with it being this like perfected thing. You know, for me, it was like, if I can somehow figure out a way to get in, you know, and at the time I'm still very club DJ based, you know, I was doing private event stuff, but it wasn't for me. It was just for extra money or whatever. That was around the same time that Josh and I were traveling around when we met you. That was, you know, like we got hired from another company to just be content creation video DJ guys, you know, so it was like being hired for this one specific project. It wasn't something I was focusing a lot of energy on at the time.
Right.
You know, but at the time I was just a club guy, and I wanted to be in the realm of like the Zacks or, you know, just like Trentino or, you know, like those guys. I felt like there would have been a lot of opportunity that came from that, because it's never been so apparent to me that this whole thing is about relationships. 100%.
Oh yeah, totally.
You know, I think you have to be strong as far as what you're doing on the decks, but if you don't have the relationships to back it up, you're just not going to get anywhere. At least that's what my experience has been, you know.
Looking back on it, is there anything? I'm sure the set was amazing. I didn't hear it, but is there anything that you maybe would have changed? Like looking back on it, like, oh, this would have been smart, or maybe I had done this, or anything like that. Hindsight being 2020.
I hate to say no, man, but just trying to think of it very subjectively, I could not be happier with my effort and the performance that I put in that night. You know, when I finished my set, that we were in this club doesn't exist anymore, but it was in Charlotte, North Carolina, is where the regional was. It was in this place called Label, and Label was just this big, you know, room. I think it held 1,000 people or something. It was packed. I mean, there was a ton of people in there, and my set got done and the place just erupted, man. So it was really cool to get that type of feedback from the people. You know, I definitely felt like I was locked in on the set, and I was very, very happy with my performance. I've tried to like think about it and kind of pick it apart in the past, you know, like, well, maybe I could have done this or could have done that or whatever. But looking at the guy's set that got first place, we were polar opposites. I mean, he was much more of like a DMC dude, I guess. And my assumption is one of the things that led to me not winning that night was his set. We were at the very end of the regionals, so they had already been to whoever the judges were. They had already seen 20 some nights of this, 20 some nights of you know, guys showing up and tone playing and word playing and all of this stuff. And the guy set that won, he was much more of a DMC guy, and he had like one or two really, really solid, very impressive juggles. And I think that he was just left field enough to stand out as being like doing something different, as opposed to coming up and being very solid with like 3 style, if that makes sense.
Right.
At least that's my assumption anyway.
Did you play on rain gear there?
Yeah. So I was on a 62. I brought my own 62 around that time, 2015. I think I got on with Rain at like the very end of 2012. Yeah, it was either very end of 2012 or beginning of 2013. This was when Rain was in Seattle. And this is kind of a good segue into like the content creation thing, because that's how I got in with them, period. I brought my own 62, and then they had like, you know, venue supplied 1200s, and it was just MK2s. It wasn't anything fancy. You guys know as much as I do as far as traveling around. It was very nerve-wracking back in the day showing up and like there's a pair of MK2s sitting there and you're like, shit, you know, like are these things going to work? There's no grounding wires on there. So hopefully somebody internally grounded these things correctly. You know, probably
Right, right.
not. Or like, why are my needles not working? I think if the tech, it would have been cool to do it with the tech being where it is, even a few years later, with like having Phase, having Serato DJ with 8 Q points would have been cool to go through that process with all of that new tech, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you have
And
Phase
for-
now?
No, I don't. I'm a
No.
Rain 12s guy.
And
Oh,
for
okay.
those that are listening, he is one of 25 sponsored Rain DJs again. So tell us a little bit about that and how that leads into the content a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So I think Rain as a company has changed dramatically. And I don't mean that in a negative way whatsoever, but they've changed dramatically since like the Seattle days. I remember waking up from a text from Josh and Joshua Carl, and he was like, yo, Rain just sold and it's like on the internet. It's like, what are you talking about, bro? And I picked up the phone, saw the article, called my guys over there, and was like, I don't know. Nobody was expecting that. Nobody even knew that they were looking to like make that move whatsoever. It was just a situation of the people that were kind of, you know, running everything, like the owners. They had just done it long enough. They had spent their time and they were ready for their exit. You know, that's all it was. There was no issues with the company. It's not like they didn't have nice products. It was just that. And everything about Seattle Rain was very, very, very grassroots. Everything. I mean, if you would have went to the warehouse there was like 10 people that work in that place, bro. Like that was it.
Yeah.
It was the smallest company of people. And I always thought there was a lot of value being able to call them and just get them on the phone
Totally.
with it being such a big company like that, you know? Man, back in 2012 was when I moved to Myrtle Beach. I'm originally from Wilmington, North Carolina. At the time, I was super club DJ. So that was where my focus was. Wilmington's not a very big city. It's a cool city. It's a fun city, but it's not very big. And so I knew that if I was going to be able to travel at all, my thought process was like, I need to be on a bigger level regionally, and I'm going to move to Myrtle. And the place that I worked at here was called Rodeo. It held 800 or 900 at a time. And it was like a open format, but like country inspired bar, I guess, where there was like a mechanical bull there. The stipulation was like, you got to play like, you know, 10 minutes of country music at the top of every hour. And then you can kind of get back into the shit or whatever. But they let me do whatever I wanted to do there. They never gave me any shit about anything. So creatively, it was fun for me. I met two friends of mine. Josh and Ian were their names. They randomly walked into the bar I was working in Wilmington one night, and they came up to me and introduced themselves. They were very involved in the like professional snowboard community as like content creator guys. I don't know what the hell they were in town for. It's been so long ago now, I don't remember. But they were hired by several companies to just come and like shoot content and create content for these people. And they walked up to me, and it was like the second night they came in, and they were like, man, you know, like, it's the second night we've came and heard you. Really, really good. Can we do some like photos for you? Like, yeah, please. You know, like, I would love that. If you would, that'd be amazing. So they did. We kind of stayed in touch. A year and a half later, I'm living in Myrtle Beach. It's the beginning of 2012. Josh hits me up. And he's like, hey, man, Ian and I are coming through Myrtle Beach for whatever. I think they were based out of Alabama. They were doing wakeboard stuff at this time. They said, you know, we want to come see you and kick it or whatever. And they showed up, and they had all of their shit with them. And they shot this promo video for me for free. It was like an hour and 30 minutes. And it was just, we're going to do you a solid and do this. They shot that video. They edited that video. Around that same time, I saw just what I thought was a lot of value of creating content for myself. And we literally went to Best Buy and I ended up trading Josh like a handful of speakers for like, so he could have like some house parties. You know, just shitty mobile. It was like shitty mobile DJ gear for like a Nikon kit camera. It was like a D5000 or something, you know, like a crop sensor. And he sold me like a 10 millimeter autofocus, like fisheye lens. You know, this was the time in the club world where like the fisheye shit was kind of
fisheye
going,
big.
you know, like that was the look, and it was going off. I started creating stuff from that, started getting photos all by myself. And this is something that I talked about in the seminar I just did in Atlantic City. I think it's difficult to be, if you're coming from a standpoint of never creating anything, like, how do I start doing this? And my thought process was, I have this massive club in front of me with all of these people. I need to be able to use this to my advantage. And so I just bought a tripod, put the camera up on the tripod, set the timer function on the camera, and just took photos all night or I would get on the microphone and be like, yo, we've got our camera dude up here on stage. We're trying to get a dope photo for our social. I'm going to count to 3. On the count of 3, everybody get your hands up. He's going to snap off some shots. The camera dude was a nobody, didn't exist. It was just the camera on a timer, and so I'd press the button, kind of time it out. Everybody's hands up, taking photos, and I just started blasting these photos to people, to AGI, to Crane Hardware, to Rain, to Jetpack. I literally beat down Jetpack's door for 8 months before they
got the
even
Jetpack right here.
Yep, before they even responded to me. And Ton was the first guy that actually responded to me there, and he's just like, bro, you're just relentless. Like, it was literally every week. I was going on a weekly basis. I was on Saturday capturing shit because the club was slammed. On Monday, they had something in their inbox, Crane was really the first company that I got hooked up with that way. And it was the same thing, just sending them content. And it was like, here I am in front of 800 people with your laptop stand. You need this content to sell the product.
I'm curious, did you ever like build like some kind of like brand kit that you're like really pushing? We're dealing with that right now for the show. So I'm just curious of, you're pushing these brands, and what do they want to see, right? Do they want to see stats? Obviously you're destroying it, right? But like, what is the response from them of how you can really, sell it? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How they can benefit from you.
Of course. That's the Rain story for that is actually really good. I got hooked up with Crane first, who is in the Seattle area. And then I got hooked up with AGI, same way, which was also, in and around there in Oregon, but it's the same, kind of general area.
Yeah.
Where is Rain at? Basically in Seattle. And Kevin, who's my guy, Kevin Shoup, he had a relationship with Rain. Mike May specifically, which Mike was, Jesus Christ, he has to be one of the best things that ever happened for the DJ culture, period. Yeah. Just the nicest dude on the planet, would give you a shirt off his back. He was just the guy, like he was the dude at Rain, and being able to call and get him on the phone anytime. And he would take 10 minutes and talk to you about whatever you needed or whatever. There's just a lot of value there for that,
Yeah.
I ended up getting a hold of Mike's email from Crane and AGI, reaching out to them. Mike was like, yeah, man, just give him his email and we'll just see what's up. And at the time, nobody else was giving Rain content like this. It just didn't exist. Same thing. I was sending him photos every single week. And I was trying different approaches of like just me with the mixer. And then I'd have a couple of more like graphic things of, here's the mixer and then a line and then a mixer up here, Rain 62. And then this is the cool shit that it does, and blah, 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 whatever. I was basically trying to give everything to Mike that he could send to his higher ups to be like, look, there's dudes out here repping our shit, and we need to bring this dude onto the squad. And that was 100% how I got on the radar. It was 100% how I got the sponsorship with them. And it was 100% how I maintained that sponsorship with them. I will never forget the first time I went to NAMM in Anaheim was 2014. It was the first year that I was like on their squad, like on the website as like an official dude, which is still wild to me, because at the time their other sponsored artists were like Jazzy Jeff and like Z-Trip. And I'm like, you scroll down a little bit more and then there's like My Face. And I'm like, it was just very humbling for me and surprising, I guess. And at the time I was also, I was creating a bunch of routines on my YouTube channel. I was trying to hit YouTube really hard. And so I was doing short, kind of routines or whatever. And then I went to the Rain booth, met Mike for the first time. And then on the TVs, they had like one of my routines playing. And I think it was still one of those things of like, I was just giving them stuff to promo their product in as much of a professional way as what I possibly could, so like setting up a studio with records or whatever, shooting multiple camera angles, very high quality stuff, using their gear. And I just did that for them, for the longest time. They took care of me and I took care of them. And it was the same thing with all of, any of the brands that I've ever worked with. That's what it's been. The dynamics of that have changed a lot since then, and like I mentioned, as far as Rain being under M Music now, they're going for much more, just like bigger, high social profile acts. So just like full disclosure, I don't have as strong of a relationship with them as what I had back then, but they're still the homies. If I call them, they'll still, help me however they can. They're still really, really good dudes. In 2018, the first year that they had Rain, I actually went to NAMM and
that's what I think I met
basically.
You did that AGI video wall thing. Yeah.
That's right. And so it was like I went there and they basically wanted me to kind of split my time where like some of it was demoing the product, like a third of it was demoing the products, a third of it was talking to people and answering questions. And they specifically hired me and brought me there and paid me, so I wasn't doing it for free. They paid me to show up and create dope content for them, to where a third of the day was running the camera. And so I don't know if anybody listening can appreciate this, but like expos like that, where it's like DJ X in Atlantic City, NAM, any type of expo where DJs get together, the thing to do is like kind of go, you see the homies, you go out to dinner, you might go out or whatever and just kind of hang out. And that year specifically, I wasn't doing that. I was going and working the booth from 9 to 6. We'd go eat dinner. I'd go back to the hotel, dump footage, edit everything, create a 1-minute Instagram. This is what happened today, and it was in my very dynamic style where, it was usually some like big room trap edit, that was kind of going off and it was just highlighting all this stuff, and then did a vlog video at the end of the day. My focus with all of these brands I've ever worked with has been 100% content driven, as opposed to somebody like Jeff, who is just a massive name, like he could work with whoever the hell he wants to work with because he's Jeff. And same thing with Z. Like they could do whatever they want to do with any brand they want to do it with ever because of their name. Yeah. A mid-tier guy like myself that doesn't have a name like that hasn't reached that, that level where they're at, I have to provide a lot of value for them. And by doing content, that I think that's what I was able to do.
I was going to say, one of the questions that I have is, so from seeing the importance of content from then until now, your take on what you're doing content wise now.
Sure. My goal is very different from the standard, well, what I would call the standard goal of just kind of like building a massive social following. And I think that if you look at, kind of what's hot right now in the DJ world, or what's working with the masses, I guess I should say, for instance, like the success that Spinelli is seen, that Nick Spinelli's seen on TikTok, of him mixing tracks together, live at a wedding or whatever. Or I know you guys had Justin on the other week. I think that both of them are making content that's kind of more for the general audience as opposed to what I'm doing, because my immediate goal is to attract new clients that are kind of my tribe, so to speak. So people that are looking to have that kind of club production experience at their wedding is the people that I'm trying to make content for. And so what that entails for me is it's always quantity over quality. And I'm not trying to throw shade anywhere or say that like quality with other guys isn't there. I'm just trying to tell you what I try to focus on for my own stuff specifically. So I try to give a lot of, very high production value. And basically whenever new clients come to our social, because let's face it, they're coming to our social before they ever even speak to us to pre-qualify us to see if we're worth their time or not, right?
Yeah.
I want to make sure that there's always some new stuff there, to keep the interest of the people that do follow us, and the accounts are doing well. My like DJ EYECON personal account is a little over 20K. I'm about to hit 5,000 on my like EYECON Entertainment, company, DJ company page or whatever. But yeah, my focus isn't in like the, kind of like acting out routines or, kind of like singing to the camera or like role playing to the camera. That's not really what my vibe is personally. Maybe that has something to do with my age or, whatever. That's just not for me personally. And I'm not trying to attract kind of the general public like that.
Yeah. And so I'm curious, the people that obviously you're getting your leads because your area and all the stuff. And I think social media is just an easiest place to find it. Like I know I talked to my sister-in-law who's 28 and she's goes on Instagram to look for anything, or she goes to Yelp or wherever. She has her places. How many people do you find are still hitting your website? Do you need to be putting these things on a website, or social media having 1-minute little routine, or just like showing the lights on social media is so much more important than even touching a website with that
Sure.
content, that same content.
Yeah. So at everything that you see on our socials, you will also see on the website. I think obviously that the way that our generation of what I consider our clients, the way that they are finding us is very different than the way they were, 3 to 5 years ago, where, we're probably, maybe some people are coming from Google, but for the most part, we have people that are referrals. A lot of it is referrals. It's either coming from the venues or other wedding planners or past clients that we've worked with. When I have conversations with people that own these venues and they're like, look, your social is what is making people call you. Like what our clients are telling us is when they come, they are specifically asking for social handles so they can check you guys out. And that's what we think you should focus on. So I think that's where my initial idea was, where I thought there was going to be a lot of value there. But as far as what our market is, I guess that just reaffirmed where we're placing our efforts, and kind of using that thought process, sticking on the grind, and kind of making what we think is really dope stuff. We've definitely seen the bookings increase a lot by making really good content. That's basically what my entire seminar was about, man, was, like just the days of like, or at least what I hope is that the days of going to a wedding, and posting a photo of, whatever, like, oh, I'm at a wedding today. Like, yeah, that's cool, but there's nothing enticing about that. There's
Posting a
nothing that
picture
is
of their
going.
flowers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, our biggest beef is the DJs that post a picture of like, hey, I'm DJing a wedding, and it's like a flower on a center table, or they they show like a backdrop with nobody in it, and I'm going, dude, what are you promoting at all? I don't even understand it. It's trash.
Right.
Yeah.
There was
trash.
there was a part of my seminar that was about that was creating content that is specifically going to make it's call to action content. It's people want to feel like a superstar at their wedding, or at least the generation of people that we're getting feel like that, period. And so they can look at our content and see us with CO2 jets or CO2 canning. Shout out Pat Club Cannon, by the way, sponsor. And little plug for you guys.
That's right.
And if it's uplighting or like these Astera tubes or whatever, they love that vibe and they want to feel they can see themselves as those people on our social. This one thing, the craziest thing for me is seeing the retention of past wedding clients, of people that we've done a wedding for, bro, 3 years ago. And these people are still looking at every single story that we post, and they're liking, every single story that we post because they just love what we do. And we're also getting referrals from those people as well,
Yeah, 100%. I still have brides follow me to this day, and like they're probably my bigger fans than anybody else, as past clients. What I want to ask you is, so you've mentioned the expo and your thing. You were the host for basically forming the DJ Avengers, the content Avengers for this, and you had basically all the big YouTube guys, anybody that's kind of pushing the content forward of what, and they all have different things, right? Some do gig logs, some do, hey, it's stuff for DJs, some stuff is for this. So maybe you could recap highlights for us of what people that weren't able to go to the expo, and what are some of the big takeaways from that DJ Avenger content, at DJ Expo.
Yeah, man, I think the goal that I approached for that was first and foremost kind of trying to give back to the community in the way of, I think it's very easy for somebody that lives in I don't know, Middletown, Idaho, to look at a Jason Jani or Joe Bunn, and see them creating, I mean, just all-star content. If you look at, the events that Jason does is on another level, and the content, and he's got a content guy, and Jason's, there's a lot of work on his behalf, and he's showing up and he's being Jason, and the production is A+, and the content is A+, and everything is good. But I think it can feel very overwhelming for a guy that doesn't know anything about cameras or, where to spend money, how to spend money, what should you buy, where do you start, where do you do all of this stuff. So the goal of that seminar was to try to provide value for everybody. So from the guy that knows nothing to the dude that has been creating content for years, I want you to be able to show up. And when you leave here, you need to have at least a handful of nuggets on your phone that you can go to your event tomorrow and implement. That was the goal of the entire thing. As far as a few of the big, nugget takeaways, first and foremost, it was just beginning somewhere, and throughout the seminar, I went through and showed different styles of content. So if you're showing up to a wedding by yourself, I've done that. And these are 3 photos that I've captured by myself at a wedding that you can do tomorrow, whether if it's with, a cell phone.
What's a tip you could throw out there? Just one of them. One of the three.
Sure. Right. So I think I'm kind of king of playing I don't know, say like I Got a Feeling or so, or Party Rock Anthem or something that has like some type of build up that everybody knows.
Right.
Dance floor's
Yep.
moving. I'll play the track. I'll grab my phone, or this is just for like Instagram story stuff at the time, and I'll run around to the other side of the dance floor, get on the microphone. I'm gonna count to three. On the count of three, everybody get your hands up, jump super high, blah blah blah, whatever. 1, 2, 3, go. Everybody's hands up, everybody's jumping. I'm snapping off photos. The same thing works if
Right.
you're behind the decks, whether if it's you capturing your gear, looking forward at a crowd, if you're doing the selfie thing where you're behind, and showing the camera up like this. The next, and I gave examples of that and how, like specific photos of how to do that, or at least what's worked for me. The varying an assistant to come out and not only be your assistant for the day, but to be that dude. And my main role for that was I guess like challenging how people look at their marketing budget. So like like Drew, if I ask you like tell me about your marketing budget for your DJ company, what are you doing? And I feel like your mind immediately goes to, well, maybe we're running some Facebook ads, or we're running some Instagram ads, or something like that. And I kind of challenge people to think about it in a different manner, as far as don't spend that money right now on pushing a random photo that you have on Instagram or Facebook, but spend that money on an assistant or even a professional to come out and capture content of you, so you have really dope stuff to push out.
One of the companies I
Go
started
ahead.
working for, we hired a full-time video guy that bumps around to all the different
Yep.
things. And
Sure.
we just like, who has the best wedding tonight out of the 5
Yep.
people that are going out? So
Right.
I think that's way more valuable than trying to throw ads on advertising, because the content's king. If
Yep.
people see that the people are using the club cannon, my last video, dude, they're going crazy for the club
Yeah, it was a
cannon,
very good
right?
video, by the way.
I mean, it
Yep.
sells itself, dude. You don't have to do much
Mhm.
more than that.
And that was another big part of the seminar. I feel like being in a seminar type setting and showing video content is kind of tough. It's a little bit hard to hear, hard to implement. And so I was only showing photos, and then like I just had social media links to my own stuff throughout the seminar. Of like, I would love to invite you guys to look at our socials so you can see the video content that we're doing. I just felt like in that type of presentation, it was easier to show photos, I guess. But that was
Right.
one of the big themes of the seminar, was like, photos are cool, but video is where it's at. That's what you need to focus on. This is what you need to learn. We kind of went over, with adding the assistant, and this was, in kind of like a rapid fire succession of, this is the stuff that I can get by myself. This is the stuff that I can get with an assistant. This is the stuff that I can get with a professional. And full disclosure, the professionals were like my guys. Like in 2020, during the whole COVID thing, one of our biggest pivots was I actually added like a videography extension to the company. So it's a little bit easier for us to go out and capture that stuff, because I already have video guys. My guys know how to use the gear. I have the gear. I've got tons of money and really professional stuff. And so same thing. I think it's tough for a guy to look at the quality of stuff that we're putting out with as much money as we've spent to get to this point, and think, man, like I'm never going to get there, But in 2012,
Totally.
when I was a absolute nothing on social, and nobody knew who I was, and I had, which is always a work in progress, right? But like, you have to start somewhere. And me going to Best Buy and spending $500 on a crap crop sensor camera was what got me started going down this road, and getting back to the guys that were on the panel. It was an hour seminar. I honestly think it could have been 2 hours easily. It probably could have been 2 separate seminars, or at least that is the response that I got from the DJ X guys, as well as Mike Walter. I know you know who Mike is, right?
Yeah, of course. Love Mike Walter. Yeah.
Brother,
He's the man.
listen. Complete sidebar. Mike and I had never met in person, right? We'd never have, just completely different walks of life. I obviously know who he was. He knew who I was, just from social, whatever. I walked up to him and introduced myself. And when we walked in, Mike was, he had his DJ rig set up, and he was kind of playing music. And my thought process was like, okay, well, he must have done a seminar in here right before. And so, they're going to pack up and they're going to bounce, and then we'll get started. And then I went up and introduced myself. He goes, so how do you want me to introduce you? I said, excuse me? He said, yeah, well, like, I'm going to be here. I said, excuse me? He's like, when it comes, like when it comes to DJ X and and all these other seminars, he's the GOAT. Like, period. I don't think that you could argue that with anybody else. I was not nervous at all until there was only standing room in, like, all the seats were taken. There was standing room only in the seminar. There were people, they kept the doors open and there were people watching out in the damn hallways. I got a little bit nervous at that point, but once I realized that Mike was not only going to be in room the entire time, but he was going to be sitting right beside me, like Hawkeye,
Right.
and everything I was doing was like, I mean, there's
Judging
just never
and
been a
taking
more
notes.
yeah, like just sink or swim. We're throwing you to the wolves. You're either going to work this out or you're not.
I'd love to see some kind of recap if possible.
Yeah, I'd been Joshua Carl he's been, I would say, probably one of the like leaders in the like video DJ community, or at least a very prominent person
course.
in the video DJ
Shout out
community
Joshua
for
Carl. Yeah.
forever, you know. And for like 3 or 4 years in a row, he gave a video DJ seminar at DJ Expo, is what it was called at the time. And he always had me on the panel. And so I knew what it was like to sit on the panel, but this was the first time that they had actually, you know, like reached out to me and were like, we're thinking, you know, let's work on this, you know, and kind of see what we could work out. And I think it was also a very interesting time because like this past year, they sold to a completely different company. So like my understanding is the guy that owned Expo was having some health problems. I think he passed away, which left his wife, you know, kind of being the person. Wasn't really her thing, or she just wanted to, you know, move out of it or whatever, other company. And so this is the first year that it has not been DJ Expo. It's now DJ X. And so this was a very big kind of like rebranding year for them, I guess. So the entire goal for me personally was just to get on their radar first and foremost. And I felt like, you know, like all the guys I had on the panel are all, you know, personal friends of mine, some more than others, but all personal friends. Were like, we speak, you know, on maybe at least a bi-monthly basis. We support each other socially. You know, it was very interesting to me to have all those guys in the same place where we all capture content first. And, you know, it was like a broad, what do we do? But then when you get down to what we do as individuals, it's all very different. And I guarantee that everybody in that room, from an attendee standpoint, they know Joe, and if they don't know Joe, they know Jason. If they don't know Jason, they know Bar. If they don't know Bar, they know Terry or Nick or Rick.
And every one of those guys is so
everybody.
different, like night and day different.
100%. Right. It was that was another big takeaway was, if you're wanting to get into this world and you're wanting to create stuff, the first thing you need to do is identify who the hell you're making content for. And so if you want to be a YouTube dude like Bar, then you need to create content for those people, and you need to figure out what your lane is for that and stick to it. Or if you're trying to create content that is specifically for DJs and you want to be a more prominent feature or focus like what Joe has with DJ's Vault, then you need to understand what that is like. You need to understand your clientele and produce content for those people. Or the other side of that, where like Jason and myself, especially me, I'm all about attracting new clients. That's who I'm making content for. You know, as well as our current clients. I want them to enjoy their day. I want them to look like all-stars. Some of the times we don't, like the past 3 that I put out, we weren't even there to do video. They didn't hire us for video. But I had another one of my assistants come with me. They all know how to run the cameras because I put the camera in their hand. And then we come out of there with, you know, 40 small clips. And I'm like, let's make some dope shit for them. It's great for us. It's great for them. Especially for the clients that don't have a videographer. You know, one of the most interesting things we did recently was when we're coming out to shoot for social like that, we don't even shoot in like normal, like landscape anymore. We shoot in like portrait now, like everything 100%.
On an iPhone or on a regular camera?
No, we're on a SLR, like on a everything that we have is all Sony gear. So I've got, for the video company, I've got 4 A7S3 bodies, which in the Sony world is like that, like God himself delivered that camera body, you know, for it's like that step under the cinema camera. That's incredible. And then we use all G Master glass for those. And so the lens that we use all day is a 24-70 f2.8 is what it is. It's their G Master version, and we can go out and shoot with that all day. It has good focal length. It has really good bokeh that, you know, like, where for those of you that don't know what that means, if you see kind of I'm in focus, but the background behind me is super blurry. To me, that's what defines the difference between like a very professional looking video or something that was shot on an iPhone. To me, that's kind of where that difference is, I guess. Hey, shut up. But to me, that's just one of the things that like you can see. Obviously, there's some cool stuff going on in the background, but it really makes me the focus of kind of what's going on. And then when you go to a real world scenario and shoot these people, it gives you that same effect. So it was really just a matter of me talking to my guys and saying, we're going to start shooting this way now when we're specifically shooting for TikTok or specifically shooting for reels. And it was just a matter of adjusting our process to turning the camera this way, you know.
Right.
The SCE guys are doing that too. Like shout out Bird and Jeff Scott Gould. They were in the I saw them walking around, same thing, shooting vertically. It's very interesting from a dude that's very traditional with video to show up and be like, well, shit, I got to turn my camera vertical now. But it's just the move where content's going, you know?
Yeah. Instagram put out a whole thing where that's really what they're pushing. It's like full screen vertical. And I've had multiple guys that are just friends of mine that we're still shooting in the landscape mode and posting it that way. And I said, man, you just got to recrop it. It's completely useless. I scroll right past it. I won't even look at your shit if it's not cropped correctly, because you have to shoot for the whatever the media that you're shooting for. If it's for YouTube, of course, put it in that way. But man, if I have to look at on Instagram this little tiny bar where I should be looking at my full phone, it's just crap. You know, it's
I mean, even if you go back and look at some of like my first 3 really, really early TikTok posts. And again, dude, you know, I'm not blowing up these social media platforms on a day-to-day basis. That's not my goal, is to post, you know, every single day. I'm just different in that regard. That is not the best strategy as far as always being in the algorithm and growing the account to the masses. But again, this is me understanding what my goal is and producing content for that manner. But the first couple times we were making stuff, you know, that was, instead of it being like a 1920 by 1080, now we're doing, you know, 1080 1920. We went out to the event and still shot in landscape mode, and then we shoot everything in 4K. These Sony cameras have a option on there and edit in 1080. And then Sony has an option that's called clear image zoom on it, basically. So you can basically zoom like 200% and not lose any quality whatsoever. So in post, I know that I can move up to 200% and still have the same quality, period, as well as shooting in 4K. And I just noticed that like I was able to make it work and it was fine, but it still just wasn't framed exactly how I would want it to frame. You know, it just wasn't as good as what I thought it could be. And so we moved to shooting vertically. We've shot 4 or 5 events like that now at this point, and all of us internally have talked about it. And it's just the move as far as where we're going and what we want to create, you know.
That's wild.
The way that we kind of got started on it before we had the videography company was we were creating these 60-second Instagram videos that we called iconic recaps. And it was basically the same thing, us going out and shooting a hype reception video, you know, turning that over to the client, especially if they didn't have a videographer, made them, you know, feel amazing. But they were posting it all out for us. It was giving us really good content. And then now I'm gonna say maybe 8-9 months ago, I think I noticed, you know, looking at the insights that Instagram gives you, that those videos were dope, but like the first 15 seconds wasn't really like the meat of the party. You know, it was like cool B-roll stuff or whatever, but it wasn't really shit that was enticing to people. You know, maybe if like you were watching my video because you're the homie, yeah, you would watch it. But most of the people were clicking. By the time they got to 15 seconds, they were over it. They were gone somewhere else. And so that was really what drove me into, I guess, understanding how people are consuming content now, where everything is so fast. And I think the reel I put out yesterday was like 7 seconds or something, you know, and we've just been getting much better traction on shorter stuff like that. I feel like it kind of constantly makes people want more and more and more and more. And everything is so fast, you know, we're like, my kind of move is to find something that's like trending, a sound or audio clip that's trending today. I will then take that track, throw it into Ableton, chop it up to kind of make my own, you know, little tweaks or version of it, take that in Final Cut, which is an editor that I prefer, make the edit that day, post it that day, because everything is moving so fast. And like a track that's hot today might not be in 2 days or something, you know? So everything is very like in the moment now, I guess.
Yeah. If you guys haven't checked out EYECON's content, he sent me over a bunch of his reels, and I mean, he's highlighting sparks. He's highlighting his lighting. So he's using what we used to do in, you know, longer videos on YouTube. he's using in like these quick little 7-second clips to really push it. Have you seen people buying these upgrades or enhancements, if you will, just because? Yeah. So they see your little video, and you can almost reuse the same thing to a different song, right? Just like reach top it in a different way, and then just keep reposting it. Would you take the old one down? Do you keep that? What do you do? Would you keep the old one down, or take the old one down, put it up to a new song, and just, I mean, because that's what's gonna make people buy. I just know this for myself. If I'm like, hey, do you want uplights? They go, it's like this glaze over their eyes, you know. But if you show them the video of it, then they're like, yes, that click. Or the Club Cannon sells itself, dude. When you show them a picture or a video, it's like, I need that. But if you just flash it, they have no clue or care.
Yeah, I think one of the good things for us is that we're kind of fortunate in the sense of we do a decent amount of events, and so like this weekend we had 4, and so there's 4 different opportunities to create content, and they were 4 very, very different events. Like the one that we did on Thursday was this massive Israeli wedding, and we didn't like actually DJ it because the local Israeli community here. I don't know if you've ever been to or done anything in an Israeli wedding, but it's like 5 hours of just like big room 128, but it's all like Israeli mute specific music. So I don't know. I know some of it now, but it would be very difficult for me to go
5 hours.
And yeah, it'd be very difficult for me to go and do that. So it's just a better fit for us to do the production. But it was any and everything you could think of production wise. And that was Thursday. But then Friday was our like, our bigger DJ package in a different venue. So there's another opportunity to create. And of the reels that I sent you, one of those was from Thursday, one was from Friday, one was from Saturday. And they're all 3 very different venues. They're 3 different vibes. And that's another amazing thing, like you were just talking about with clients, where especially the places we're at often, we have a lot of content in those spaces. And this is something that helps us on the DJ side and the videography side, where if they are getting married at, we'll say, 21 Main Events is one of the big, wedding venues we're here at all the time. I can send them video, not just photo, but video of this specific package that they want with whatever upgrades they are looking for in that space. And when they see that in that space with the way that I think we're kind of making or attempting to make our clients look like superstars in that footage, it compels them to want to have those moments and experience those moments. And it's the same thing on the videography side as well. We have 2 main films that, we kind of do. One's a short film, one's a feature film. If you want to know what a feature film is like in this space at this specific venue, I have that and I can send that to you.
Are you are you doing a full video when they hire the team? Full video of the event, and then on top of it chopping it up, and then you're able to post both of them?
Yeah. So in the videography world, the perfect storm for me would be a 200-person wedding, so not massive, not small, with people that are showing up to dance and have a good time with good decor. That would be the perfect storm for me, because that gives me a lot of different opportunities. When they hire us for video, they generally get 2 films. They get like a 1-minute trailer, and then they get either a short film or a feature film. The short film is around like, say, 8 minutes. The feature film is around, say, 15, 16 minutes, something like that. So I have those options for them. But then on the DJ side of things, when it shows up to the dancing portion of the night, if the dancing portion is lit, where I think the content that we produce, we very seldomly get people that show up that are not looking to party, that are not looking to dance. I think with the stuff that we put out, we kind of attract those people that want to have a good time. And so it gives me opportunity to make the other, shorter TikTok or reel content as well, all from the same event.
Yeah. I mean, that just goes back to branding. Really, you're branding who you want to show up and party with you, and that's where not doing the routines for your content, instead doing, the lighting and all that other stuff. You're able to showcase who's spending the money.
Yeah. Facts. And Myrtle Beach as itself, man, is kind of it is a big like destination wedding spot. I would say probably at least 60% of our content or customers, excuse me, clients are destination people. So we very seldomly meet these people before the day of the wedding. I also think that's kind of trended from the whole COVID thing, you know, where the whole like meeting in person kind of went by the wayside and it kind of went to,
Oh,
you know, a Zoom or phone calls or texting a lot or whatever. I also think that has a lot to do generationally with, you know, millennials just not liking to be on the phone or whatever, you know? And so our biggest thing was I want to give you a well-rounded idea of exactly who is showing up at your wedding and what we do. So if you go to the website, there's mixes there, there's photos there, there's videos there. There is no shot that you would look at our content and not know who is showing up at your wedding. And that's also
Right.
a big focus of mine, why like doing the, you know, routine thing or singing to the camera is not really like what our lane is, you know. And again, I'm not throwing shade anywhere whatsoever. That's just not what we focus
No,
on.
of course.
You
Yeah.
know, and creating the stuff that I think we do is I just kind of feel like we're locked into where we need to be. I guess the only issue that we have, honestly, is me just finding more editors. That's really all it is. Like the video side for us took off much faster than what I ever anticipated it was going to. And I think a large part of that was because we've been in the DJ community. We're already established locally in the DJ community. I've tried out like 3 other editors to edit wedding films for us. None of those have like been up to par for me. And so
Right.
I've got myself and one of my other guys, Mike, who are, you know, like full-time editors, but I've got 3 other guys that I'm trying out right now. I sent them all the same film and I'm like, just dude, this is what I want you to make this to the best of your ability. We'll talk after.
Right.
So when I get to
Right.
the
Right.
point that I can kind of have like, you know, say 4 or 5 guys that I can just send a film and they can knock it out in a week and a half. That's my current goal, just so we can kind of get caught up. And that'll also free me up from being like a wedding film editor to concentrating solely on social and just building the company, I guess.
Yeah, dude. That's my problem is I'm sitting on tons, like probably a year and a half worth of content. I just need to edit the
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
You know, I
It
mean,
gets really,
it's
really tough to be the guy that does all of that stuff all the time, you know, doing
yeah.
events, doing sales, you know, trying to be solid in the relationship, you know, doing all of this stuff as well as editing. And, you know, man, when you sit down to edit, it's like, I need a solid 5 or 6 hours to sit here and put my phone on do not disturb and just lock into this to be very productive. And so
Right.
there's just not enough hours in the day.
Maybe could you tell us? I want to jump. We're gonna hit new tech real quick, but I want us to
Mm.
just say maybe what's your last takeaway from maybe the biggest thing that you had from the DJX, you know, Marvel superhero panel that you had. What's the biggest? What's that biggest takeaway?
Man, the biggest thing for me, I guess, was when the whole COVID thing happened, was really my like, okay, I'm going kind of full speed into the private space now.
Yeah.
And I enjoy being a educational, influential figure in whatever world I'm operating in. And I felt like I had reached that in the club world, but in the mobile world, like some people knew about me, but you know, not really. And so that was kind of one of my big goals was I thought that having the opportunity to present a seminar at DJX, not only just myself, but from the guys that, you know, my friends that I had on the panel, I felt like that put me, I walked away from the expo in a very positive light by delivering the content that I delivered, as well as having those guys there to support. You know,
Yeah.
I've probably thanked each and every one of them individually. Man, I don't know, probably 10 times, dude. You know, it's whenever you take the time to go and do something like that, it is very hard to just delegate your time. You know, because you're only in town for 2 or 3 days. They all have their individual goals as well as what they're there for. You know, so them taking an
Right.
hour out to come there and support meant a lot to me personally, you know, and moving forward with that, you know, I hope to work with them more and just establish more of like the Icon brand in the private event space, I guess.
Well, I mean, years ago, I seen some of the stuff. You did a great video. You were doing some stuff for Club Killers, and
Yeah.
you've done that AGI video for the rain. And I've followed you for years, and I'm
Mhm.
a big fan of just your studio and the whole like multiple camera stuff that you do. It's always been very awesome to me, and I think your content's very next level. I think DJ should check out your YouTube and your Instagram and definitely push forward on that. It's it's awesome for me.
I
I
appreciate
want
that,
to
man.
talk about new tech, dude. Can we hit some new tech real quick?
Yeah, just
All
hit
right.
us with some new tech.
So I think tech world for me, the most excited thing that we've got right now recently in the DJ side are the Astera AX1 tubes. Very, very seldomly I feel like I have seen a product, especially in the lighting world, that shows up in the DJ space where my thought process is this shit is game changing. Like this is really going to elevate, our product up to the next level. And these things were it for me. Once I found out that they were completely wireless, they've got a good battery in them. They're bright as all hell. And we can control them wirelessly with DMX. We can put them wherever we wanted. It was an immediate thing for me. They're not cheap whatsoever. There are other options out there that looks like them. I've seen them all in person. They don't look the way these things look.
What are you using for stands? I just used them this weekend, and I bought the expensive stands that Jen I and Joe Bunn have pushed.
Yeah.
And I got to be
the
honest,
Lightsmiths,
man,
right?
I like them and I hate them. I actually hate them more
Yeah.
than I like them because I can't take them apart, and
Yeah.
they're kind of a pain in the ass for how expensive they were. So they
Yeah,
look
I
great
think
once they're live, but I'm
Agreed.
not happy with them.
Agreed. Yeah. I'm aware of who I've actually, I forget the guy's name, but I've actually spoke to him before. The issue I have with the Lightsmith stands is just the price of them, to be honest with you. And
Yeah.
I'm not coming to that from a perspective of like, I'm the first guy to drop a lot of money on whatever I think is going to take our stuff to the next level. But with it, expensive as what those things are, to get the amount that I need, because we've got multiple DJs, and so one of our big things was if we are wherever we're at, we need to have the same vibe, same look, same everything all the time. Aesthetically, I want us to look the same. So I'm not just buying Lightsmith stands for myself. I've got to buy Lightsmith stands for myself and at least one other guy. So it automatically takes the investment up to that next level. It's like whenever I bought the AX1s, I don't have one set, I have two of them. And so for me, those things do look really awesome. I'm personally pulling a trailer to my event, so I think it would be easy to just kind of stand them up in the trailer and just roll out. But I felt like they were too expensive for what they were, I guess. There's another guy that I'm talking to, more like grassroots, that is been going through the same process, and he's kind of in like the final tooling stages of making those. So I'm interested to see where that goes. At the moment, I hopped on Amazon, bought some like heavy base plated like Gator mic stands and a couple of adapters that go into the bottom of these. The only problem with these that I think that I'm not a huge fan of is that the female thread on the bottom is an M5 instead of it being like a standard like quarter 20, what would be on a camera or whatever. That's about the only thing that I don't love about them. But tech wise, these things are insane, and I think that it was something that I was very excited to make content for, I guess. And we're currently the only people in our market that have them. And I just think it takes our like setup to that, like, next level, like I was saying.
Well, I just think they look 1,000 times better than moving heads. Moving heads don't do much unless you have a lighting tech, whereas the Stereotubes are instantly amazing, and all you have to do is have hit some buttons, and
that's probably the most exciting thing in the DJ world for me right now. In the videography world, the A7S3 bodies for us are it. I mean, they're not cheap, but they look amazing. We use all G Master glass, which is Sony's like kind of top of the line native glass, I guess. And they just started coming out with like Mark II versions of kind of our tried and true workhorse lenses that we use every weekend. And so for me, that's kind of what I'm most excited about in the camera world, is just there's constant advancement, when it comes to all of that stuff. I saw when you had Justin on the other day, he was talking about those DJI microphones. Those seemed like those would be really dope. Nate mentioned those to me as well when we were at Expo. I'm not really capturing too much audio at there you go.
I just bought them because of that.
Right. We're not really capturing audio at events too much on the DJ side, but I do see where those would be very useful. The mics that we use for ceremony are actually the Sennheiser like EW100 G4s, so we can already send wireless audio signals, and that we're already covered in that manner, I guess. But if I was looking to do that and capture audio, those things seem like the move for sure. They seem really cool.
I have those too, G3s. I have
those things
right here.
Yeah, those things are amazing. They're so good.
I have my gripes with them, but I think overall they are incredible. My gripes being that they chew through batteries, and that white noise if the battery dies is just death.
Yeah, that's really, really bad. I think we go through more batteries than what I would probably like to. I like the fact that DJI units are, they're in that charging case. You don't ever have to worry about
Yeah.
that. I guess does the perfect gear exist? Probably not. We're always gonna find something to bitch
hell
about.
no,
But
no.
those are really good options. I would also like to say, you guys have probably been seeing me drinking out of this weird ass, this this is a internal joke with Drew and I. I think the first time, well, and the most recent time I should say that Drew actually heard me DJ was this live stream that I did for DJ's Vault. And the entire I don't drink, not for any other reason, that it's just not my thing. And the entire live stream I had like sweet tea up, and I was just drinking sweet tea. As Joe says, I'm more of a redneck than he is, and in true redneck fashion, I'm drinking sweet tea instead of whatever the hell liquid death is. What is it alcoholic? Is it
No, it's
non-alcoholic?
water.
I don't understand.
Just
It's
water.
non-alcoholic water. Yeah.
Wow.
That's why I think
Just water.
non-alcoholics would love it, because that's actually why we push it. Well, I love their branding, but yeah, this is mango seltzer water. It's strictly water, no alcohol at all.
All right. I'll give it I'll give it a shot.
We're trying to get sponsored, so that's why I asked you about the sponsorship, because we're pushing hard on the Liquid Death sponsorship. It's gonna come one day. It's gonna come. You'll see.
I believe you. Stick to it, man. Yeah, tech wise, I think for me, it's just continuing to get better camera stuff. Those lenses came out very recently. Pre-ordered them and got those.
New iPhones are dropping next week. Of all the panel guys that you saw, do we all need to drop money on some A7s, or can we be okay with an iPhone? Just curious, because me and Fuse both pushed the 360 camera pretty heavy. We get some great content from that. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, my reasoning for just that camera is that it's pretty set up. You can pretty much set it up and you can get something that you can use. And the most important camera to have is the one that you're actually going to use, because guys can go out and get all the nice gear they want, but if they're not using it and not getting any footage, then, it's a waste for all around. But I think what Drew's asking is, do you think that people can get just as good of footage to post that they could? I mean, obviously your camera looks amazing and you can noticeably tell the difference between that and an iPhone. But
Dude,
if you're just going to start somewhere, why not just buy a nice iPhone and with a nice camera and start posting content from that,
Sure. So I'm going to see if I can get this to focus. This is my favorite slide from the seminar, and it's basically one that I created of Kendrick. It says, "It's levels to it, you and I know," from Humble. Lyrics from Humble, right? And nothing is more true than that statement when it comes to creating content. I don't give a shit what you have, period. I don't. It doesn't make a difference to me. I actually led with iPhones, Androids, whatever the hell it is, whatever you have in your hand. This is 1,000,000 times better than doing nothing. And this doesn't have to be a big money game. Of course, work your way up to try to get very good equipment. But before you do that, and Jay and I spoke on this too, it was the same thing. We both started with shit cameras from Best Buy, but starting there gave us somewhere to start from. And if an iPhone is what you have, then use it. If it's a GoPro, then use it. If it's whatever it is, don't think that you have to go out and spend. I literally had a conversation with Joe about this week. He sent me a text. He was like, bro, I want to get more into like this world. I sent him these options. He's like, bro, it's $6,000. I said, okay, well, let's, like you asked for the best. This was the best, but like, let's tone it down and start at a different level. You don't have to go out and spend money like this. I would 100% agree. A new iPhone, new Android, if that's your steez, it's not mine, but if that's you, that's fine. Just start shooting stuff. And if this is what you have, this will work 100%.
Every time I try and recommend something to anybody, they're always like, oh, but it's going to cost this much. And I'm like, well, why did you ask my opinion then? Shit ain't fucking free, bro. Like, what you want magic? Like, I don't know. I fucking Joe. Shout out Joe. Stop being cheap.
Yeah, Joe's the homie, man. Joe's the homie.
Oh,
I sent him that because everything he does is like, just on this level. So my assumption was like, I'm not even going to send this man something that isn't the best at all. And he was like, yo, relax, bro. Calm just a little bit. Calm down.
Well, dude, I can't compliment you enough on your content, and I hope you keep doing DJ content. I know that's not
Yeah.
like specifically your lane. I think you're doing more of trying to get your mobile stuff, and I understand that. But I do love your content, and I hope
Thank
you
you.
still stick with it. You know, with the studio, I just think you got the multiple cameras, and I just love how you're
Yeah.
able to flip around for him, and I've always respected that. You know, sick as fuck DJ, dude. You always kill it.
Thank you.
So give
I
us
appreciate
give
that.
us all your bro, next level. We didn't even get a chance to touch on your video shit, which I think I hit you up after I watched your video set at Heat when you were here for NAM, and I
Yeah.
was like, man, you're killing me, dude. Like, my
I
video
appreciate that.
stuff is phoned in compared to what Icon does. So I know a lot of you guys follow this, but if you watching, like, Icon is next level, and maybe we can have you back on and talk about video at some point. If video
Yeah, yeah.
DJing, if you're down. Yeah, I'd love to
Yeah,
have
yeah,
you back on for that.
that would definitely be cool. And to kind of touch on your what you just said specifically, there was a time where I was like super heavy with YouTube and like I'm making stuff for DJs, and then to me, I just kind of switched directions in my mind. I'd actually like just linked with like DJ City 2 at that point to do this like 60-second tip thing, and then I just kind of switched directions of where I wanted to be, you know, because the private event space was coming, the club space was kind of shifting, and so I didn't want to give a lot of focus there until I knew that I could like really put my nose down and grind to it. There's a lot of talks going on with DJ X right now of creating stuff for DJs, specifically like a series of stuff. So I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet, but there's definitely going to be stuff that's going to come up for that, so you can look forward to that for sure. As far as my social stuff goes, my main account, like my personal account, is DJ EYECON. If you don't know how to spell that, it's EYECON. I know it's a little weird, but that's my main one on Instagram. Private event company is Icon Entertainment. We do a ton of weddings, private events, whatever. Those are, and you know, you search any of those across any social, and you're going to find me in both places. So that's where I'm at.
Keep it up. I'd actually love to have you back on and just talk about video stuff. Everything that you dropped on us today was just absolutely incredible, and you know, thank you so
Thank you.
much for taking the time. Really,
Yeah, of course,
it
man. I
was
appreciate
awesome.
you guys having me. Means a lot.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, and
Definitely
it was
have
nice
to
to finally meet you.
come visit the goat of Goat Island.
Dude, you have to. You have to come. That would be the photo. That would be the photo. It would be a shot of the three of us on Goat Island wearing t-shirts that have the three of us on Goat Island. That would be it.
Would be amazing.
Oh, nothing would make me happier. I need to plan on that trip, dude. It needs to start sooner than later. So
Yeah, let me know.
follow
Let me
DJ
know.
EYECON. Thank you so much, dude. We appreciate you. And that's it. We out.
See
Until
you guys.
next
Thank
time.
you.
See ya.
Later.